Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Eric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where I just want to point out, if you're watching the YouTube video, Angie's lighting is much better than mine. We are the same kind of tan if you were to see us next to each other. But on the YouTube video, I look pale and she looks incredibly tan. So
It's because I have the ring light.
yeah, so she's looking super tan. I want you to know, in person, we are the same tan. Is that fair?
Tell yourself that.
Okay. And that is because we just got back from Antigua about a week ago, and we thought we were going to Antigua, but when you get there, you quickly learn that the locals, the natives of the island, call it Antigua. And if you search for that on like weather.com or something like that, it comes up and says St. John, whatever. I mean, it doesn't actually just say like Antigua. It's like St. John's and Antigua is in it or something. Barbados, yes.
Yeah.
And we said last week that we would share more about the trip on this week's episode. So that's what we thought that we would do.
Yeah, so this trip was unique in that normally I'm a trip planner and normally am the one that's like, here's where I think we should go. Let's do some research around it. And for whatever reason, this time I just did not have the space or the capacity to dive into that. I just didn't have the time. And so I turned it over to Eric, like, I don't care where we go. You plan it. We just go somewhere, get away, do all inclusive so we don't have to cook or take care of a house or anything like that. So you did good.
I felt like part of it, I could be wrong, part of it goes back to what you kind of talked about the last week or so. It's like those winter months really had you down. And it kind of, you couldn't even pull out of it to plan the trip. So you were like, you just do it, which we don't ever do it that way. So I was like, oh God. I mean, I had to spend so much time because I didn't want to mess it up. And so we did incorporate a travel agent that we've talked to over the years that sent us on our honeymoon. But we just, since then we've had Hallie's house and we really haven't done any traveling outside of the US in like 3 years. But we thought we'll use her. And so it was very last minute. We had like less than 6 weeks. So she was a little bit hand-tied in where she could get us. She's like, I can get you in a great place in Mexico, but you and I were over Mexico. We've done that so many times. And so we wanted to go somewhere, a Caribbean island, and Antigua is where we ended up. And I mean, honestly, there was a lot of relaxation that happened over several days. So
Yeah, I think originally you wanted it to be a surprise.
yeah.
And then when
Because you said surprise me. You were like, just surprise me.
Yeah, just don't care. Just, surprise me. But then I end up getting an email notification when you actually booked the trip because she had to plug in all of her information. So I knew where we were going, but it was all good. It was all good.
We'll mention as we go on, like some ways that Hallie showed up. And I think we mentioned last week, like the trip started off with Hallie showing up just when we pulled into the parking spot and pulled into spot number 7, which I was going to pull into 8. And then I pulled up and we got out like, oh, wait, it's 7. So you felt like Hallie was there right out of the gate. But then we get to Antigua and immediately realize, 1, we're saying it wrong. And 2, there's certain things you can't wear in the Caribbean islands.
And we were waiting for our luggage and I just stood back because it was hot in the airport. There's no AC, very small airport, and all these people were crowded around waiting for luggage. So I kind of just stood off to the back and to the side, and there was this lady standing next to me and an employee of the airport that was kind of dressed in military fatigue a little bit came up to her, the girl standing next to me, and I couldn't 100% understand what he was saying. It sounded like he was telling her that she needed to change her clothes.
Which
And I'm
seems
like,
odd.
okay, do they know each other? Like, it was kind of like an informal discussion. And I'm not trying to be nosy, but also like leaning in, trying to figure out what is going on here. Cause there was a lot of back and forth conversation. And then the guy walked off and I just leaned over to the lady. I'm like, what was the deal? And she's like, oh, he's telling me you cannot wear any army fatigue in the Caribbean, not just in that island. They'll make you go change. And the lady had a pair of camo pants on, just normal, like casual camo pants you would wear. I mean, Summer has a pair, but I thought that was really interesting. I mean, you have no idea what culture expectations or things you need to stay away from in some of these areas. It's just that part is always interesting to me of understanding other cultures. And could you imagine in the US if we told our visitors, like, you can't wear
I mean, wow.
camo pants or army fatigue? It's crazy. Then we get into our vehicle to go to our hotel and they drive on the other side of the road, which that is really a first for me. I've been in a lot of countries, but not one where you drive on the other side of the road. And I am directionally challenged anyway. Anybody that knows me knows that, I'm staying in a hotel and I leave the hotel room, I'm going the opposite way that I should go. Like, I'm just always very turned around. My brain doesn't work of like north, south, east, west, and remember exactly the way I came. So for me to ride in a car and they're on the opposite side of the road, even when we went through a roundabout, like I could not even process how you're supposed to go around a roundabout when you're on the opposite side of the road.
That was freaky. That was. I had thought about when I was planning the trip doing like a day excursion where we rented a car and drove around the entire island because you're on an island. I don't know how we would have done that for a couple of reasons. One, we would have forgot. But two, their road system was so jacked in Antigua. They have like no road signs.
No
And
lines on the road.
no lines.
I don't
So
even know how
really,
you do it.
yeah, I don't know how you'd get around the island and find your way back to the hotel. So glad that I didn't plan that excursion. But yes, that was often. And I will say the roundabout going the opposite way was rather freaky for sure.
Yeah, so we get there and I probably would have, just the difference in how we roll. Anywhere I go, I typically upgrade or I'm like top of the line VIP. But I did not plan anything. So we get there and we're like normal people checking in.
I mean, I did
had
ask
to
her.
wait in line.
I asked, and she said we didn't need to upgrade at this resort. And I don't know. I mean,
It was totally fine. I'm just teasing you because we did laugh about that sitting there waiting to check in. We're good travel buddies. We do very well traveling together.
travel buddies.
We're little buddies traveling.
One, because I know how to get out of a hotel room and back into it.
Correct.
And
You're very
lost.
helpful. You're
Thank you.
very helpful to say, Angie, we're going this other way. This is the way we go. But even just how we spend time together, I feel like we're very much aligned on how we want to spend the day. Neither one of us want the day mapped out on exactly what we're going to do and when. We're very much go with the flow. Maybe it's because it's the season of our life where everything is so hectic that when we do go on a trip, we could just like lay in the sun and worship it for a long time.
I don't know. When we met and we just like from our very first trip together, a few months into dating, we've always been good travel partners and that we like to just chill. And I mean, so I think even when things slow down for us, I don't foresee our travel styles changing too much. And it is really nice.
But we do like enjoy, and I for sure do. Maybe this isn't something you totally enjoy, but like going to different cities and exploring cities like we did at Charleston, that was super enjoyable.
Amazing.
So that's not like sit around, do nothing, so sure. I think there's a mix, but definitely we just want to lay on the beach for hours.
Yes. Let us read. Let us soak in the sun. Let us nap.
Yeah. So we kind of had a day in the life. I mean, we kind of had a routine even when it was only 4 days.
I would say with that, we haven't talked about this. I actually feel bad because I am in a new season of life where I've become an early riser. Like when we met, I didn't really do that. But now, I mean, and especially since I quit drinking 7 months ago, there's no reason to be in bed. I've woken up now. I have
Feel
nothing to
great.
sleep.
You're ready
I
to
feel
go.
good. I'm ready to start my day. So if that's at 5:30, if that's at 6 a.m., whatever that looks like, I'm awake and I will sit out, read my devotional, my Bible. And when you're in a hotel room, like I don't worry so much about it here at home because I can quietly sneak out of our bedroom and we have a large house I can go retreat to. But this was a smaller hotel room. And I know that by like just opening the sliding door to go out on the patio that I'm waking you. And at that point, I'm like, ugh. So I do hate that. And I apologize. But our routine is that. And then as we get up and get going, we would go to the gym. And then we would follow that up with some breakfast. And then we might grab a coffee at the little coffee shop. And then got our beach spots early in the morning.
Yeah.
Like we're
We
some
gotta
of the
put
first people.
and flip our chairs to how the direction that faces the sun. So first half of the morning, if those chairs are not facing the sun, we got to flip them. So it's kind of awkward because,
Do we flip them? Do we?
I mean, it's a joint effort. I tell you to flip the chairs and you flip them.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
not, that seems like teamwork.
Yeah.
That seems like good travel buddies.
That's right. That's right.
But it is a little bit awkward because not everybody flips their chairs. So, we flip our chairs and now we're facing another couple who maybe doesn't worship the sun as much as we do. But there was another couple next to us that would do the same thing. So felt like we had the same vibe going with them.
It's funny. And we sunscreen up. We might take a walk on the beach. It's like you said, it's pretty chill. We dip occasionally when we get hot in the ocean. And the Caribbean Ocean felt great. One thing that was new about this trip is that we have not done an all-inclusive in 3 years. And so one of the things about being all-inclusive is you're eating and drinking until you're full. And when you're living a healthier lifestyle like we are, all we really needed was the unlimited coffee and ice cream from the coffee shop, really. I mean, I think that's pretty fair. And so to be there and there's what am I going to drink when I'm not drinking alcohol? And I did say to Angie at one point, the only hard part, it wasn't the beer because they had like Coors Light and a Caribe, which is a Caribbean beer. That didn't bother me too much, but I would have mimosas as a treat back when I was drinking, especially on vacation. It would be a mimosa every day. And they had mimosa bars at breakfast. And so to not do that was initially a trigger. But I had read that you could do like orange juice and club soda. And so that was okay. But then we tried like some mocktails, right? You could get a pina colada without rum. You could get a strawberry daiquiri without rum. I didn't do that because it's too sweet. But then we were just kind of playing around. And one day we stumbled on a new drink that we brought back home. And it was your idea, actually.
Yeah, it's simple. I mean, it's probably not like a new drink for our listeners, but it's pineapple juice. Well, I love ginger ale. I like to sip on ginger ale. Like if I'm on a flight and you order a drink, that's what I'm going to drink. It's ginger ale. And so mixing ginger ale with pineapple juice was a great little mixture of like very light, very summer type of drink. And then the last day or two, we end up doing a splash of cranberry in with that mixture. And that was really good too.
Just for some islandy color, really.
Yes.
What did I tell you immediately that it tasted like? Do you remember?
No.
For our listeners with kids, I took a drink and I was like, this tastes like
Hawaiian Delight.
Yes,
The
Hawaiian
baby
Delight.
food. The baby food.
Yeah, which was
We
my
bought
favorite
that.
baby food.
You bought that not too long ago. Because as any parent, there's only one baby food that you would even remotely take a little taste of, and that's Hawaiian Delight. The rest is terrible.
Yeah.
I made my own baby food for the most part with the kids because it's so easy. Like you bake some sweet potatoes and mix it together and feed that to the kids type of thing. But Hawaiian Delight, even when I was little, even when my mom had an in-home daycare, like that was okay. So you bought it and the kids were like, what in the world? Like try it. I don't even know if they
wouldn't try it.
Yeah. There you go. Hawaiian Delight. That should just be the name of the mocktail.
Yeah. How did we not think about that till just now?
Well, I don't
A
know.
little slow on that one. Okay, so what we had talked about, we don't typically do a lot of excursions because Well, we just like to lay and worship the sun while we're on vacation. And
Rot on the beach, as like our
as
kids would say.
yeah, but the one thing you had thought about maybe doing was if the opportunity arose to ride a horse on the beach, you'd be interested. And how did that arise for you?
Yeah, that was always one of Hallie's bucket list items. It was raising a foal and horseback riding on the beach. She talked about that often. And I was talking to a friend way before we went on this trip, but she hadn't responded back right away. A fairly new friend, I would say, like good friends, but don't chat that much in the last like year and a half. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't respond back right away. I was riding horses." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that you rode horses." Well, she lives in Florida. And then it just hit me when she said that, like, oh, maybe when I'm down at Hallie's house, I could ride horses on the beach in Florida. And I had Googled it, but nothing really came up. So I was asking her about that. And she's like, no, they're pretty picky in Florida, especially in the area that we live, that there's not anything around there to be able to ride horses on the beach. But she's like, oh my gosh, it's such a great experience. We did that in Turks at Caicos. And then it hit me like, oh, I wonder if they have that in Antigua. And so I Googled it and they did. Now, I didn't know where, just knew that that was like an excursion. So you and I just sort of had it out there. Like if there's an opportunity, there is. But if not, it's no big deal. When we get down there and it's like day 1 or 2 of just hanging out on the beach. Day 1?
It's day one, and I don't
Okay.
even know if we've been on the beach for 10 minutes. I
That,
mean, it
yeah.
was like instantaneous.
But you get to when you check in, obviously they give you all these brochures and then they want you to meet with someone the next morning to walk you through this. We don't do any of that stuff because that's time management. I don't have time for an hour to listen about all these things that you can go do. So we didn't do that either. But we're walking to our beach chairs and we walk past where you get your beach towels and they have signs up there with excursions, nothing about horseback riding. Then we go get in our chairs and a guy comes by and was like, hey, you guys want to do any excursions? And it was like the second thing that he mentioned was horseback riding. I'm like, oh, okay, well, clearly this is something we might need to look into. And then I said, I'm interested in that, but I don't want to spend a ton of time going to the place to ride horse, like spend a half a day to go do something when we're only here for a short time. And he's like, it's right. You just walk right down here. It's on the beach. I'm like, okay, sold. Like that's meant to be. We literally didn't have to go anywhere, but walk down the beach and then go back onto the road, leave the beach, go on the road. And it's right there. It was crazy. I'm like, okay, all right, we're supposed to do this.
Yeah, it was super fun. I think we rode for almost 2 hours, which led to some soreness.
Wow.
I mean, in
Yeah.
a lot of places, not just like between our legs, but like a lot of places. There's a lot of soreness, I would
Weird
just say.
spot. Yeah.
Weird spots. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, here's the other wild thing around this whole ordeal is that particular day. So we booked it on a Thursday morning to ride on Saturday. And so Saturday, we're walking down to the little tent where we had to meet this guy. And I look up at the sky and there is 2 clouds in the sky. And it is so obvious that it's the letter J and the letter L in the sky. I took a picture of it. I'm like, Eric, first of all, does that look like a J and an L? I mean, it's not even like a question. Literally is a J and an L in the sky. And so I took a picture of it and I sent it to my sister who, okay, her daughter, Liza, is like a Hallie mini. And that just the same personality, same love of horses, same 0 Fs, just the same person. And it's a beautiful thing. She's starting to do barrel racing and she's taken lessons from someone that Hallie knew. There's just like all these crazy connections. Anyway, so it was like, that's weird though. Like, I feel like somebody's trying to tell us something in some aspects, but there's a J and an L. So then we go to, they're ready for us. And as Eric and I are walking, we're talking about like, I feel like if Hallie is going to aggravate somebody, like one of us is going to get maybe a little feisty horse. So just who do you think that she would really want to aggravate. And I'm like thinking, I hope the hell it's not her mom. So I'm hoping it's Eric.
And I'm over here knowing that if Hallie could aggravate me, she would do that. And she
You just
does that even now. You just know that's going to happen.
You just know. So we get to the little horse spot and we wait around there. And there's one other couple that's joining us. So it's 2 couples and our guide who's high, like nobody's business high.
He was Antigua high.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing. Which reminds me, real quick, I'm going to divert. This morning I was driving to St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
I love these MoDOT signs. So my sister's husband works there, and he said they let people like submit, like employees and people submit ideas for these road signs. So I'm driving to St. Louis this morning, and the road sign says, "We'll be blunt, don't drive high."
It's pretty funny.
Like, that is hilarious. Okay, anyway, the other couple arrives. They're coming off of a cruise, and then they start getting us on these horses. So he puts me on a horse first. So I hop up on this horse. He messes with the stirrups. My legs are not very comfy in these stirrups, by the way.
Yeah,
I've
mine
been on
either.
a horse like I'm a damn professional. I've been on a horse 5 times in my whole
I'm
life.
sorry. You said a professional? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
This
No,
was like the
I'm
3rd or
not.
4th time. Yeah.
4th time I've ever been on a horse in my life. And then he puts Eric on his, and that horse immediately, his head's going back and forth and up and down. He's trying to get situated with the bit in its mouth, like all this stuff. And I am dying laughing, trying to video this horse going crazy. And Eric's just sitting there like, oh my God.
Yeah, hoping it doesn't take off on one of these roads. And I'm like, what is happening right now? But I
Right.
knew, it was like, really, Hal, can we calm it down over here, please?
Yeah. So we get going, and we're on a road first. We have to ride on this road for a little bit before we get on a beach. And my horse, naturally, it wants to be in the front. And so the guy was like, "You've got the leader. Like, your horse is the one that likes to lead." I'm like, "Well, of course, that's the one I got." And puts me in the front, so I have the best view. I'm not looking at another horse's ass, but all of it's great. I'm like, "Thanks, Hal. Put Mama in the front." And we start going down the road, and I mean, there's cars coming at us because, again,
yeah.
the road system is not great. You're in this like 1-lane road and cars coming. And I hope these cars don't like honk at us, which the guy said sometimes they do that to be ornery with the horses. And the guide says to this other couple, but to the guy,
They were from Baston. They were straight out of Baston, Mass.
Yeah. He goes, "What do you have in your hand?" And he's riding his horse. And I look back at him, and it looks like he has this mason jar. And I thought maybe he brought like moonshine with him or something. That's what it looked like a drink, but in a mason jar. And he goes, "Oh, it's my dad's ashes. I carry him with me everywhere we go. We even have a Instagram site that's called Having a Ball with Paul. And that's a ball like canning jar." And I'm like, I look back at him. Well, of course you have ashes with you. Why wouldn't you? So then we share our story. I'm like, I love it. That you bring your dad with you and you take pictures. And he was naming off all these places. And also, how crazy that this guy has a glass jar riding on a horse with his dad's ashes. And I'm thinking, I hope they're like in a bag, and that if that thing falls off of there or the horse gets crazy, that it just doesn't bust everywhere. So we do pretty good. We get down this road and we go to our first beach, and it was beautiful. And I mean, just like you would imagine, you're riding this horse along the water, and the ocean's beautiful. Everything's great. I feel like such a sense of purpose and accomplishment and honoring Hallie and all the things.
You looked amazing on that horse on the beach, by the way. I mean, just gorgeous. It was like something that should have been in a calendar or something.
Okay, no, our listeners don't want to hear that.
They think you're beautiful too. But anyway.
Moving on. Anyway, we get back on the road, and then we go to another beach. On this beach, there's, I don't know, 30 kids maybe they're taking swimming lessons. And so they're kind of in this roped off section. But then I don't know, they want to run more energy out of them maybe. And they have all these kids run down this beach and we're on the horses.
They spook.
They spook the horses. Eric's horse rears up, kind of.
Not kind of. It did.
And then having a ball with Paul, his horse raises up crazy. And they're kind of like going into bushes. My horse, who's pretty calm, it gets agitated. And it was a disaster for about a second or 15 until
Yeah, because
got him calmed back down.
well, because then somehow my horse in that process got up to the lead, and then it was confused because the guy said it's not the natural leader. So then anything it sees, it wants to catch up to. So like if you saw other tours ahead of us, it would try to catch up. We just needed to get your horse back to the front. Can I just throw in? Can you imagine? Some of these kids were small, like 3, 4, 5, learning to swim in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's their reality on an island. Oh, we got to do swim lessons. You're going to learn to swim in the ocean. That's kind of crazy, but it was what it was.
Crazy. Yeah, they didn't have life jackets on either, people. They didn't have the little swimboards or kick plates or whatever they use or little arm floaties. Like there's none of that. It was like get in the water, swim.
Yeah.
That was a big highlight of the trip, of being able to do that. I think anytime you can do something with intent and purpose in honoring someone, it just fills your cup up. But when we came back, I mean, we needed to find some Gatorade. It was hot. 2 hours of not drinking anything and being a little bit stressed with the horses.
And I would say, luckily, like the first half of the trip, everything was fine with the horses. But then after they got spooked about halfway, then it was a little bit of like a white knuckle ride after that. Yeah. Where it was like, think about driving in a car in a snowstorm. That's kind of what it felt like coming back on the horse. So yeah, that stress factor was like, we need something to drink, and I don't want to go back and have a pineapple juice at the resort. So there was a little Easy Mart something. I don't know what you'd call it over there, but they had Gatorades, thankfully. And so
we weren't even sure we could get down off the horses. Like he had my stirrups up too high. He messed with them halfway through. I'm like, oh, are you going to lower the stirrups? And he's like, no, I'm going to make them shorter. I'm like, oh my God, this is like so weird. I felt like my legs were really, really bent back. So then riding for 2 hours like that, it's almost like they were numb by the time we got back. And I'm like, I cannot really feel my legs right now. And
very
then
jelly.
It was only a couple hours later where I felt the soreness was really kicking in. But everything it makes me think of Hallie, of how sore her body had to been all the time when she was doing barrel racing, and just times she fell off her horse and multiple times. So I didn't complain about it. I was just a little bit surprised at the soreness.
It was fun. It was both of us. We got to the end of the trip. We were talking about what we enjoyed the most. It was like that was the highlight, was riding the horses on the ocean and just the overall experience. It was really, really good. The trip as a whole, I think we have just said, I think it was good for us to connect. It was a good connection for you and I. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week that some friends of ours do, and they were visiting with a mom who lost a child, and she was talking about how hard marriage is after you lose a child and how they almost got divorced, but they did not. And, our marriage has been on a journey as well. And it was a really nice connection point of vacation for us. And, our therapist knew that going in, and she had asked us while we were there to learn something new about each other. And I don't know that I learned anything new about you. You were not very openly sharing. I tried. I think, Matt, I just pay so much attention. I'm such a great payer attentioner.
You would.
I knew all the things.
And I'm like, I feel like we know each other pretty well, that I could not think of something new to share with you that I wouldn't think that you would know. But it was funny because Eric's reading The Power of One More. Is that the name of it? Right?
It is. I finished it on our trip. It was really good.
Ed Milet. And he has been reading a lot of books and had shared with me, he's like, I think you would enjoy this book. And I have not picked it up or, really planned on reading it. And so right away on the trip, you had shared some frustration, I feel like, or just feedback of like, hey, it does bother me sometimes whenever I share with you a book that, I would want you to read that book and you don't read it. And so I do think we had a good conversation around that. So when I think of like, did you learn something new about each other? This would be one aspect of just explaining my journey, because I feel like everybody goes through some level of hardship in their life. And that is such a huge opportunity to take that time and rebuild who you are. It's an opportunity to change and evolve and grow into something different, whether you made that choice or not, like whether you were in control of your circumstances or not. And so for me, this is why I shared with Eric. For me, when I got divorced, my whole circle network of people, we had a ton of couple friends. I put air quotes friends. And I lost like most of those friends because naturally you think you're going to stay friends. You don't. When you get divorced, they will always take some side. That's just how it happens. It is what it is. And so for me, my family also was very frustrated with me. And so I went inward big time and my circle narrowed really, really small. And I took that opportunity to slowly rebuild. I envisioned what I wanted my life to look like and who I wanted to be. And that is a beautiful thing if you can embrace it when you go through hardship, to decide and make that choice and invest in yourself. And so in that 5-year period, I read a ton of books. I invested in myself. I set goals. I worked towards them. I created what I envisioned and became what I felt like was my best self. And that's where I feel like I learned that's where my purpose was, is really lift women up, because that was very, very difficult. And I experienced not getting supported. I had very close, small group of women that lifted me up, that helped me, type of thing. But that was hard to go through. That's painful. And I think even with the grief journey, you shed so much. You have to let go of who you were before, because that person's gone. And it's this another thing of rebuilding when I didn't want to. And I've taken a ton of what I've learned and applied it. And so it's a long, long way of describing, like when Eric's reading his books, I feel like I've done a lot of that. And it's beautiful to watch you take this time for you to become your best self and invest in yourself, where I don't know if you've ever had that opportunity or that safety to be able to do that in the past. I feel like a lot of times people have something tragic happen to them and they move on to the next thing without stopping and really figuring out what do they want this next version of themselves to look like.
That's fair. And maybe that's the thing that I really learned about you, was how, I knew that about you, your circle getting smaller and how you kind of rebuilt, but to go in depth about it, maybe that's what I learned on the trip. I would say I was trying to express to you that you took that approach and I really appreciated it. And what I was just trying to express is that there are some books, I don't care if you read them or not. I'm obviously reading a lot of books. It was more when I do ask, it's like we talk about being growth mindset, and I'm trying to do that, is that if I'm asking you to read one, it's because I want to connect with you through it. And so that was what I was trying to describe to Angie as we did that. And so she very kindly, in a connecting manner on the trip,
I downloaded the book. This is
yes.
another difference between you and I. Eric likes to have the actual physical copy of the book. That is not me. I'm Audible. I'll lay on the beach, listen to it, and I can get through it a lot faster. And I can take a lot of notes too while I'm listening. So,
and I will say, I really appreciated you putting forth that effort to connect with me on the trip and downloading the book and getting going on that. So thank you very much.
Here's what I will say. This is like a little bit off topic, but kind of back to what we were talking about with taking the time to invest in yourself is that the thing that when I went through the divorce taught me is that there's no one else responsible for your success, your happiness, your joy, your goals, except for you. That's it. You can't really rely on anybody else for that grit and determination, your mood, your vibe, all of it. If you put that in the hands of someone else, then you're going to be very, very disappointed. And I think for you, I think in our marriage, a lot of that happiness and joy and all of that and the responsibility or whose hands you put that in was you and I, like on me in some aspects. Not on me, but you had me in that realm of like, Angie's going to bring that to me.
Well, I would just say when we first met, and obviously that's a lifetime ago now, you very much wanted to make me feel loved, safe, and secure. And no one had ever done that. And I really appreciated that. And then when our world falls apart because we lose Hallie and you can't physically do that
Right.
anymore, now it's back to, oh God, what do I do now? So yeah, then we have a struggle of two people being in different forms of grief and where do we go? And so, the great thing, I say this all the time and she knows it because I talked to her about it. I say this to my counselor, like if I could have found the way to be in the best version of myself and not have had to lose Hallie, that would be my choice. Hallie would always say she's better than everyone. And in this regard, I can tell you that because we lost Hallie, she has forced me to learn to be the best version of myself. And I believe that in some weird way that God, in God's story, that was a big purpose in her life. And I think that knowing that she's living her best life in heaven, she probably smiles knowing that she is the big reason why Rickety Doodah, she would say, decided to go inward and figure out what was going on.
Well, I think that I see so much of like what I went through after I got divorced and that going inward and trying to figure out who I want to be and be the best version of myself in what you're going through right now. Like I see that journey and I think that I agree. Like if we had not lost Hallie, you wouldn't have had to like really dig in and go through that because of everything that we had going on sort of forced that to happen. On the same token, when I went through that 5 years of like focused on me rebuilding, a piece that was missing from that is I did not dive into my faith. It was all about like creating my own reality and I'm gonna work hard in my career and have all these experiences with my kids and I'm going to learn as much as I can about growth mindset and who I want to be and what I can achieve and self-confidence, all of that stuff. But I never really dug into my faith. And then you and I met and I always prayed, but I relied more on myself. I bet on myself more than I bet on God. And I thank God every day that you came along, and that's when I dug into my faith before I lost Hallie, or I would not be where I am either. And so it's crazy how it goes back to our conversation last week on trusting God and his plan, even when his plan sucks. And I would never, ever wish this on my worst enemy, but he's always there guiding it and orchestrating it. And I hope by us sharing all this with you guys that you guys can see those pieces too. And if you are going through hard times in your life, that ultimately there is some purpose, whether you see it next month or you see it 10 years from now, there is some aspect of purpose to this journey.
I'm teary-eyed over here, but it's not because of the nice things that you just said. I was tearing up trying to hold it back before you even started. So I don't really know. Like I just felt like the Holy Spirit kind of like coming in here before you even started talking and just kind of filling my heart with some kind of joy. I don't really know, but I think it's a connection of how God has used you and I to be counterbalances to each other and to bring a lot of good and bad. They say opposites attract. And we have a lot of opposite.
Yeah.
We have a lot of opposite, but we also have a lot of similarity. Yeah. And so it's definitely been a thing. And one of the things that I'm grateful for today, and I'm just going to skip ahead on that, even though we're not quite to the end of this, is I'm a great idea guy. I have
Here's the opposite. Here's
ideas.
an opposite. Go.
Here's an opposite, but this is how it works. I'm an idea guy. Like I get the ideas, but then I can't make them into something. But then once I know what we're doing, now I can get back in and I can do the work. I have a hard time getting from A to C. I'm missing B. And then when you and I work together, it's kind of like this podcast. Like I was like, we should do a podcast. You're like, why would we do a podcast? No one's going to listen to that. I don't even want to do a podcast. And then we are the A to each other's B that creates a C, something in completion. And so back when we were at Hallie's house around Christmas time, and at that point, I was setting the goals for the new year, trying to find the balance I wanted in my life. And I'm walking all the time down in Florida, like 7-8 miles a day. And while I'm walking, it just hits me the miles for him or miles for Jesus or miles. I wasn't sure what I wanted, but this theme just kept coming into my mind because in my journey over the last, even before the 7 months, I had started walking with other men who were Christians and sharing their stories with me before I stopped drinking. But the walking was such a big part of it. And so I look and like milesforhim.com it's available. But I could not put this anywhere. Like I kept running it by friends. Like, what should I do with this? How can I do this? And they would have ideas, but nothing that really struck me as this is what I need to do. And then for my birthday a month ago, my wife gives me a piece of paper that said I bought milesforhim.com. I'm like, great, I don't know what to do with it. I have nothing. And then Angie's like, well, all it is you and who you're becoming. And so it's what it's become, thanks to Angie, is me. I've written a couple blogs. I plan to continue to do that. Some songs that I listen to, Christian songs that I listen to when I walk. Talk about some books that I've been reading. And at the end of the day, a way for you to reach out to me, especially if you have a man that's listening or a husband, a significant other that's looking to grow in who they are, especially in their faith, a way for you to reach out and say, hey, I'd like to take a walk and just talk. And I think it's guys walking shoulder to shoulder rather than eye to eye. I don't know if you know this, but research says guys actually don't talk well eye to eye. There's like some barriers that happen with that. But when guys are working together or walking together side by side, shoulder to shoulder, the conversation flows much better and they're able to connect much better. And so it's a way for people to go and maybe get a couple of resources from me. And at the same time, if you want to take a walk, reach out and we'll take a walk rather than go get coffee or lunch. So thank you for that. I'm grateful. And it was good teamwork. Good teamwork.
Good teamwork. We always laugh because Eric will be like, here's an example. We should be on the Today Show and talk about this. I'm like, how about we just get people to listen to our podcast first? Like there's this like step. He's got big ideas. And then I'm the one that like works back to like, here's where you actually need to start. Let's just put this out there as an opportunity for people to connect with you. And then you can kind of figure out how it goes and if it's a thing that people are even interested in. But you don't have to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
You don't.
Crazy.
Just start. Like, just do it. Like we talked about last week. Just do it. Just dabble your toe in it and see what happens. Well, I'll go for what I'm grateful for. And this week, I am just super grateful for our listeners. We have such a beautiful army of listeners. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Your comments, when you reach out, you share your stories with me. And that's why we're all here. It's really the whole purpose is to build community and help each other out, lift each other up, and love each other. That's it. That's our life. That's why we're all here. It's not to have sharp elbows and push each other out of the way or judge people. It's here for experiences and love each other. So we feel that with our listeners and people that reach out to us. And so it's just a simple thank you. And I'm grateful for our listeners.
You're not going to say you're thankful for coconut ice cream?
Well, okay. Ice cream at the hotel every day. One day we went into this little coffee shop and I'm like, oh, you don't have coconut ice cream? She's like, I'll find you some. Come back this afternoon. So Eric went back and she had me a big bowl of coconut ice cream.
It was good.
So
Real
good.
coconut.
You know why? Because it's real coconut in there. And I don't know how they make their ice cream, but
It was light. It wasn't
yes,
too thick. And yeah, it was very light and really good.
so
Um,
good. The food
you
in
know,
the resort wasn't great, by the way. That's why we were eating coconut ice cream. But
but the island is itself, we enjoyed the time away and the weather, and it was great. Anytime you get to the Caribbean, I'm all for it. I would say this. We mentioned last week, again, if you would share the podcast with someone, you share on your socials, just text it to someone if you think that they would like what we're doing. But right now, it is super important that starting tomorrow, after this drops on March 24th, Angie and myself have made the top 5 nominees for Best Local Podcast in Inside Columbia magazine here in town. So even if you're listening to us overseas, if you are listening to us in other states, you can go starting tomorrow daily and vote from your email daily at insidecolumbia.net in the Best Local Podcast category. Now, there are going to be like probably 60 to 80 categories. You do not have to vote in all those categories and take that time up every day. You can go and you can find where our Best Local Podcast is and just vote for us and submit. We would be grateful because I know some of you are in Jefferson City. This doesn't apply to you. Some of you are in Kansas City, St. Louis, wherever it may be. If you just go find that and vote daily for about 5 weeks, insidecolumbia.net, you could help us win Best Local Podcast.
and I just want to share that I had this podcast written out and listed what I was grateful for before I knew we made the list, and that you were going to throw this in there at the end.
That's true. She didn't know I was adding
not
this.
related. Those two are not related. I am for
That's funny.
You vote for us or you don't vote for us. I am so grateful for our listeners. It sounds like those two are not related.
Sorry. She's right. I added that honor at the end. It's like, oh, we need to get this in here. But all of that being said, we learned some things about each other. We are a good team, and we are back on record on a Wednesday night date night. So
I
we're
know.
going to wrap this up. We're
Not
going to
even
have
last
dinner.
minute. Like last podcast, it was a Saturday night we're recording that.
So we're going to hopefully chill, and I'll probably read some more because that's what I do. And Angie will take a bath. And we hope that
my Bible study.
Yeah.
I'm about 5 weeks behind. I got some catching up to do.
I'll read my Bible while you're doing that. So you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.